Bro.
What's up, dude?
Not much, man. It has been 4 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time
since we sat down and did this.
Yeah, and I love this place, man.
Thanks.
I love that song.
Thanks, dude. A lot's happened. A lot's happened in your world and mine. But I guess tell everyone what you do right now. That way, I can kind of allude to the fact of who
my
you
name
are.
And everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just what your currently occupation is and all that.
I'm a Shreveport police officer. I've been on the police department for. This will be my 21st year. I'm in my 21st year right now, and I've kind of that's my main job. I was the vice president of a nonprofit called First Chance, where we the best thing, I don't want to say first aid, but it's more like trauma care, basic trauma care for things like, active shooter or, someone falls out and busts their head and, for civilians and law enforcement. And then I'm also one of the music directors at the Civil Church, and I play the guitar for them and then put music together there. And then for fun and kind of sort of professionally too, because it helps me professionally, because at the department I'm the senior master defense and tactics instructor. I also do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Bomber Jiu-Jitsu. And then raising kids, bro. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
I still got little kids. Well, one of them is a teenager. I call them little, but I still have a 10-year-old. So to me, they're still little, but you know how it goes.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
married, so
9 and 10. Mine are 9 and 10. But yeah. It's full time shit going on all the time.
Yeah, so that's the brief summary. Yeah.
So what and you came on when we first started this thing. Like I said, I think it was probably either 2019 or 2020. I think it was 2019 we started.
I think you're right. I think it was 2019.
It was before COVID.
Yeah. We said that at the same time.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what do you think? What's the current state of what you've seen in the past 4 or 5 years as far as like crime? What's going on in this, not only this area, but probably nationwide, but specifically, I guess, this region, maybe not just this city, but everything.
When you say, what do you see?
Like,
what do you mean? Like,
do you feel like it's gotten better or worse? Like,
man,
in your specific occupation?
I think it's both. I think that there's definitely room to improve, but I also see where, at least in my world, I see more agencies, especially in this area, working together more than they ever have.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's a cultural thing, really, because I think that especially after COVID and the deal that happened in Minnesota, the Floyd incident, I think that pulled people together. It also made people afraid. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, yeah, you're in law enforcement, but we're all human, and you're also dealing with, this is so complex, you're also dealing with different generations. I went to law enforcement much later in life. So, I'm 52. So if you're looking at a guy that's like,
damn, bro, I didn't know you didn't got that old, man.
So you're dealing with a guy that's like 28 or, maybe even, 38 or 35, 38. They're in a whole different mindset than when I came up. And so that's different, right? Yeah. But I think that struggle there brought people together, because in the long short of it, in your mind, even though this is not 100% true, but as a police officer, you sometimes think that no one's on your side, right? Because you deal with the 1 or 2%, right? Yeah. Or you hear all this stuff. Yeah. That's not true, but we don't think that way, right? So when that stuff like that goes down, you immediately grab one another. And then, there are people that are in the police department that are not even pro-police. I know that sounds weird, but the majority of people stick together, and I think that created a bridge to fill a gap that we hadn't had before. We do, we used to reach out to one another, but I think it's different now. Man, I mean, we lean on, I can tell you this right now, Bossier City has helped my team out, for the last 5 years, easy. I mean, it's funny, the running joke is that, and they'll tell you this straight out, when they bring their armor over to Shreveport, we're always breaking it, Yeah. And so the joke is that, hey, am I going to have to, fill out a liability report when I get back. You know, I mean, it's been shot like 27 times. It's been, you know, but without those guys, man, I mean, those situations would have been totally different. So Bossier City helps us out a lot. Bossier Parish Sheriff's Office helps us out a lot. And I'm speaking from like the SWAT team perspective.
Right.
And the unit that I'm in, I mean, we work hand in hand with those guys a lot of times. I mean, Bossier Parish has been really good to us. Caddo, you know, for years we were a task force together, you know, so I think that's just me, my opinion. I think that incident brought us together, but I think also culturally, like, again, the generations are different, so that brought us together. You know, going back to the generation deal, the younger generations, I don't know what you call them, Y, Z, whatever, right?
Yeah.
They tend to be a little bit more open to that. Whereas the old school guys, because I've been around long enough to know the old school guys, there was more ego.
Yeah, for sure.
And we all have egos, especially, you know, man, when you're an alpha, you know this, you know everything. No one can tell you nothing, right? I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way we're built, right? But, you know, on the other side, you know, these guys, as tough as they are, they're open to that. Hey, man, you know, we do need help on this, right? We are open to suggestions, and that's a good thing too, because that actually makes you better as a unit and as a team and as people.
Yeah.
Whereas that may not have been always the same in the past.
No,
so I think it's good and bad. I know that's not a great answer, but
no, I mean, it's fine.
I think as long as crime is connected to politics, and as long as crime is connected to politics, which it always will be, you know, numbers always make administrations feel good, right, or bad, but numbers don't necessarily reflect what's really going on.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's a good and bad thing, because I think, you know, the people that are out there hustling and grinding, they really are doing their best because they believe in what they're doing. And I believe administrators believe in what they're doing, but I think that you get, you know, the further up you get and more responsibility you get, you disconnect from the street, quote unquote, and so you don't realize what's relevant anymore. It's only relevant to where you're at, or what's important to where you're at. Not to say they're not important, but man, think about it. Technology-wise, we've changed in the last 5 years so fast, it's crazy. Don't even add 10 or 15 years. So when you have, you know, to me, man, when you get 10 years on a police department, you're going to be struggling with technology because it's changed. Think about being 20 years in.
Yeah.
And it's almost like there's this huge disconnect. And what's the answer to that? I don't know what that is, but I think that's where when you're talking about crime being up or down, you know, as long as you have the number deal, it will always be a game. And I don't see how you're going to get away from the game, you know, because of there has to be a way to keep up with things, right? Yeah. You know, you have to be able to keep up with what's going on. But that's not always going to be honest. But it's not always going to be. It's not always going to be a lie either.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, for instance, if you know the chief wants to know, you know, have violent crimes go up or down, right? Well, numbers wise, they may go down, honestly, because you know detectives may have a good clearance rate, and you know that's going to be reported.
Yeah.
But then you go to neighborhoods and they'll go, man, we just don't feel that. It feels like. Do you see what I mean? So where's that? Where's the balance?
I got you. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
so
no,
for
sure.
me to say that it's up would be weird, but to say that it's down would be weird too, because you know we're busy. There's no doubt about that. But again, to me, goes back to the politics, if you want to put this in there, of where you know you're not going to see the same thing in the same type of deal in thriving places economically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that plays that's part of politics, but that plays a part in it as well.
Yeah. I guess the biggest question, I mean, to that would be like, what's the landscape look like now versus, 2 or 3 years ago?
I think the landscape for police officers, like I said, is better because there's more there's technology on our side as long as we invest in it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
At least it seems on my end. Again, I'm just speaking for me. I can't speak for anyone else. I'm sure there's someone who disagrees with me. But on my end here, it seems that we're coming together as officers better, right? I think as far as crime goes, as long as there's rise in poverty, you're going to have rising crime. And those people that are in it, you know, the innocent people that are in it, I say innocent, I mean, the people who just go to work day to day and just trying to make it work, you know, they're going to feel like it's a struggle. I mean, that's just, you know, that's the way it is. And I think that police officers are really trying to wrap their head around, you know, how can we be effective in our job? Because, you know, again, the landscape has changed.
Yeah.
I mean, things are different, you know, how we prosecute, not us, but how the DA offices prosecute crime. Everyone's different. Bossier City and Bossier Parish are different than Caddo Parish, you know.
Yeah.
Claiborne Parish is, you know, different than us. There's just so, Ouachita Parish is different than us. So it just, you know, again, I think it really has a lot to do with politics, the climate of culture.
Yeah.
And I think it's good and bad. And I hate to be, I don't want to ride the fence, but there's no way for me to say, hey, it's 100% better.
No, I get that.
You know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
like, it's 100% bad. But I can tell you that as a unit, you know, as being on the team and everything, I mean, we're busy.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're just giving an informed.
I still enjoy going to work. I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. You're informed enough to where you can see both sides of it.
Yeah,
so you
I
can't
do.
say
I do
it's
see
horrible.
both.
You know, like
Yeah,
at the same time, you
yeah.
can't say, oh, it's great too. So.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think that when you and the truth is that I've been lucky in my career. I've been fortunate enough to make friends with other people like, you know, Dallas, Houston, Little Rock.
Yeah.
You know, Tupelo, Mississippi, Hattiesburg, Monroe, Baton Rouge, New Orleans. You know, we all talk, and everyone is kind of in the same place. You know, you have your offshoot, like maybe like Richland Hills or in Texas or something like, you know, where the economy or the ratio of pay is different.
Yeah.
They're different. You know, they're more, they may be more centered on like, you know, traffic and
Right.
or, you know, like their condition of living is different.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're talking about different, you know, when you're talking about Shreveport or, you know, Monroe or Baton Rouge or New Orleans or, you know, even Natchitoches and places like
Yeah, we got bigger problems than traffic violations.
yeah,
right?
it's different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a different deal. So yeah, but everyone pretty much, to me, in my own opinion, they say the same thing, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's good. I mean,
And I really do. I think the George Floyd thing really did it hindered a lot of things and messed a lot of things up. I think we stepped backwards, but I also think in that it brought us together too, right?
yeah, I can see that. I mean, you're in it and living it, so if you're saying it, I can see it for sure too. And I also see there's more support now than there's a lot of divide there, right following
That's
that,
right.
and that's been what 4 years now.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. So like,
That's right.
shit, it's 2025. I'm thinking, yeah. So, but yeah,
passed fast,
yeah,
too,
but I mean,
yeah.
there's been a lot more people support, you know, are coming out and saying they support that. And the biggest discussion too, and you and I might have talked about this. I don't think we talked about it a long time ago, but more since everything's been you guys have went through all this shit, and getting all this pushback from, you know, the defunding stuff to having discussions. Well, look, we're not funded enough in the first fucking place.
Sure.
We don't make enough money. We're worked too much a lot of the times.
Sure.
We don't have the mental health support that we need.
Sure.
And then we also don't have the funding for training. And then a lot of the people who are working there aren't in the best physical shape either.
Sure.
You know, these are all things that hinder you from doing the best job you could do.
Yeah.
And then you still got to wake up and go to work the next morning. And these people, you have to count on them to be beside you.
It's true.
And hope that they can hold their shit together just like you hold your shit together.
It's true. And I think that people in general, and when I say it's true that that's how people feel.
Yeah.
You know,
I can see that.
You know what I mean? That's how.
And when people say, well, fuck them, they suck. Like, dude, we're doing the best we can over here with what we have.
The other deal with that is that, again, it's politics and it's also, you know, this is not just a police thing. I think this is with anything, and I'm an old man now, but I think it's true. You know, when, you know, my pop used to say, you know, don't judge anyone till you've been in their shoes, you know,
Yeah.
that old adage, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really what it comes down to. It's not just police work, it's anything, you know, you can't. Most people who talk like that still call the police anyway. And most people who say things like that, they're, in my opinion, and also from experience, is that most of them were probably done wrong, possibly by police.
Yeah, and that happens.
They had bad experiences.
That
Of
happens.
course it does. And then some are never even dealt with police. It's just a cultural thing, and it's cool to say that, but you've never really been in that, and then or been in to where you have to call the police or need help or something like that. And then when it comes down to it, you're like, well, what else am I going to do, right? And it is a weird deal, but those what you're saying is not a fact.
Yeah.
But there are incentives, and we have incentives for people to stay in shape, and with those, with that incentive, growing, you see more officers getting into that, and culturally, honestly, dude, being in shape has been a thing now for a little while.
Well, that's what I was. Are you seeing that new recruits, like people coming in actually taking it serious and not wanting to just ride a desk somewhere?
And it really wasn't like that before. It is now, though. I mean, there are people that really want to be in shape. They're working to do that,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, it's weird. It's a two-sided thing. It's weird.
Well, walk me through I want everyone to understand how SWAT operations work.
Okay.
So can we talk about that? Because I think a lot of people are misinformed exactly when you guys are kind of deployed or whatever the term is you use, and then like how that works and what that looks like.
Yeah. So for us, I can't speak for another department, but they're probably similar. But for us, of course, you have to be a patrol officer first. And once you do your time, that's 3 years. Once you do your 3 years, you can put in to be on the SWAT team. And once you put in, there's a series of tests you have to go to mentally, physically. I would even say emotionally, because it's tied to it. First thing, you put in your paperwork. If it's approved, you go to a tryout. The first thing you have to do is shoot what's called a Peace Officer Standards Test, and that test is no different than what you shoot when you're in the academy. It's just a baseline, but the baseline number that we're looking for is higher than what you would need, to be a police officer.
Gotcha.
Right, so it's much higher. So
how much higher?
So by numbers, I think it's you have to score, I think it's a 94, and that's not a percent, that's a number out of 120, right? So to be a police officer, it's either 90 or 94, and then to be on the SWAT, it's 90 to 120, that's your,
right.
You max out 120, right? So to be on the SWAT team, you have to score 114. That's right there, close to 120.
Gotcha.
Right. So your minimum, and that's because you have to have a good baseline to be able to take you to the next step.
Yeah.
Right. So if you shoot what we consider, not what we consider, but what the test says is 114, we think, hey, if you're consistently shooting 114, we may be able to get you to a point to where you're shooting better than that later.
Yeah.
Because, man, I mean, the test is, it's, as far as that test is not that hard. At least in my own opinion. Again, that's me speaking.
Right.
The difference is that when you take that test, the team is there with you. Whereas when you're shooting in the police academy to be a police officer, no one's there except for the other people besides you, what we call qualifying. When you're qualifying with us, the whole team's there.
Gotcha.
So it is a little intimidating. But everyone's had to go through it. That's the deal. But see, that's where the mental part is, right? So you start there. If you pass that, then you'll go to a PT/shooting test. And the PT test is really just designed around what we do as our, what it satisfies our specific needs for a team, and what we would do, like a body drag or going up a flight of stairs with a lot of weight. I mean, think about it. Your regular rig probably, when you're on the street, weighs, anywhere from 14 to 20 pounds. It depends on, how you have it loaded out, what you're carrying, right? But you could say that was an average. The operator's rig is going to be different. It could be 15 to 20 pounds, on a regular day, but then, on certain missions, you're going to carry anywhere from 30 to 40 pounds.
Gotcha.
Right? So, that's factored into that as well, right? So the PT test is about, around that kind of thing. It's similar to CrossFit, but it's not the exact same, right? So, you have like a drag or a push, a sled push, right? You got to do some RAM stuff. You got to almost sprint a quarter mile after you've done, I think it's 80 feet of a tower that's stairs. It's a lot of running, it's basically squats, powerlifting, that type deal, but it's not powerlifting. That's
Gotcha.
just get you there, right?
Yeah.
So it's similar to CrossFit. And then after you do that, you have to do a little shooting course that's based on moving and shooting, that type deal. So then if you pass that, once you pass that, you have to go to an oral interview board, and that's usually with the team leaders, and that's going to be some of the senior guys on the team. So for me, I'm a sergeant and I'm a team leader on the team, and it would be me and the other team leaders there along with some of the senior guys, and then that's an interview process that lasts an hour to 2 hours. If you pass that, then you have to take a psychological test and mental test, and if you pass that, then you're on 18 months probation. And so what we do there is, in that time, we're able to evaluate, are you going to get this or not? Because we're a part-time team, we're not a full-time team.
Right.
So it's different if you're a full-time team and you're able to train that every day. Well, we're not training that every day.
That's just because you don't have enough scenarios to where needs to be a full-time.
Yeah. And we do close to full-time team work, but again, staffing, city size, things like that, it is different. So these guys get to train once a week voluntarily, and then they train every month as well, but they're getting more training than others because you're being called to do some crazy stuff. So you got to be above average, right? So that 18 months kind of lets us know. You kind of know in about 4 to 6 months, even to a year, where someone's going to be, right? So that 12 months, that year gives you have a little bit more time to say, hey man, they're just not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Or hey, they're good, once they do their 18 months. And then after that, once you're in, you're kind of in, but you're still evaluated, because there's been people, not many, but there's been people that have been let go. And most guys, at least in the past, most guys don't stay that long anyway. Most guys on the team will go 4 to 7 years and they're gone. But that's an average deal. It's kind of a revolving door type thing.
Okay.
So you're never at the you'll never be at the top of your game. Everybody's never at the top of your game.
Yeah.
Like a full-time team, maybe in Houston or Dallas or Los Angeles, or San Antonio. But even above that grade would be like the FBI CERT team or a Tier 1 military team.
Got you. Got
So
you.
we're nothing like that. But.
Well, so what are the call? Like, what institutes you having to be called? What scenarios?
Man, we respond to hostage rescues, barricades, wanted people that are violent. We'll
so
help
like if
the
you're
U.S.
gonna,
Marshals out.
like recovery.
Yeah, we'll help those guys out. They usually do their own thing, but they'll call and be like, hey, we need help with this. We'll do that. We help the feds. The FBI needs. The FBI's going to call in their team for everything they do, right? So they'll use us or Caddo or Bossier Parish, depends on what's going on. Any of the feds. That's DEA, any of those guys. And then we do, of course, narcotic search warrants, but it's different than the way it used to be. But we still do those. So anything that's really aggressive or violent in nature, we'll take care of it. Because we have specialties in a lot of those areas.
Yeah.
Vehicle takedowns, right? Not just CQB, but long range tactics. There's a niche that we have that we're good at, right? So that's usually what we would be called for.
What's some of the wildest shit that's happened here recently? I'm sure you see stuff every day, but like,
man, I got a lot of stories. Though. I think one of the one that sticks in my mind the most was Cedar Creek. What was that? 2 years ago? It was in July. God, taking two kids hostage at Cedar Creek in Southern Hills, and I think one, and I may get this wrong age-wise, so forgive me. I think one was 15, and there was a 12-year-old boy in there, and he was just, before we got there, he had already been in a gunfight with the neighbor, and then
I think I remember this. Yeah,
he had been in a gunfight with the police officer, and we didn't know at the time, everything in those things, man, it's always evolving. It's very fast and it's chaotic. Most people don't understand that unless you've been in that type of situation. And, those that have been in the military and combat, they know what I'm talking about. It's just chaotic. And so in the beginning, it's a lot of try to get the chaos under control, which you do, but but you don't, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because it's flowing, man. I mean, it's just the way it is, right? So he had got into a shootout and got, with the police and the neighbor, and he had been shot, I think, in the hip, if I'm not mistaken. And he was just shooting where he was positioned in the house. He was just shooting all over the place. And, a house is brick and sheetrock, right? And he was shooting it's either 5.56, 223. It was one of those. Anyway, he was shooting everywhere. So there's rounds going everywhere, just shooting from the hallway, just ba-da-da-da-da-da. And there was a girl, the 15-year-old was in our room not far from him, and those rounds were just going through, right? And she had been hit. We didn't know that at the time till later on, and a couple of the guys had to go in there and get her, and they did awesome. They did phenomenal. And then he burnt the house down while he was still alive, by the way, which is crazy. That was
so y'all never so he died in the house, like,
oh yeah
before you even got it. You never even got in there to get him, or?
We didn't get him. This actually started one of our programs we have. That's a great program that actually, in the old day, we would have had to go in there and deal with him, right? And because of technology now, we were able to see things that we didn't see before.
Gotcha.
That, we realized that he was hit, he couldn't move, and we could rescue this girl without dealing with him right away.
Yeah.
And so now instead of a hostage rescue, you're dealing with a barricade.
Yeah.
Even though the barricade's dangerous, two of our guys were able to get her out. They actually got into the house, brought this girl out.
So that was the primary focus.
That's
get her out of there,
that's the primary focus.
And then we'll deal with him once we get her safe.
And the truth is, if we had to deal with him at the same time, we would have, but
Right.
that just wasn't the scenario at the time. And so they were able to get her out, and then he lit the house on fire. It wasn't long after that.
Yeah.
And at first we were told later on that he had committed suicide first, but then we found out that that's probably not what happened.
That's insane.
That dude was committed.
That's insane.
Yeah, and that dude was very committed. That changes. Man, that's the other thing. People, the normal person. I think Dan was here a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was talking about being red, seeing red, and that kind of deal. You don't really know when someone's committed, man. You better hope that you're that committed.
Yeah.
And I don't mean in a police situation. I'm talking about in anything.
Someone, there's those type of people.
That's right, man.
And if they want something to do something, they're going to do it.
That's right.
And there's no changing their mind.
And they don't have to necessarily be trained in it either.
No.
Right? So
it's a little more scary if they're not.
I know, dude. It's wild, bro.
Yeah, I would think.
What was crazy about that situation is that I've been on a SWAT team about 17 years now. And as we were, going up, I've seen a lot of stuff. I've been fortunate enough to be there that long. They've allowed me to be there that long. I've learned a ton of stuff. I still love doing it, And this is one of the wild things, because knowing that, and those things open your eyes to stuff that you need to train on better, right? Things you need to do better. And one thing's for sure, going back to what we were saying, is that if someone is committed, it doesn't matter. I don't care who you think you are. It's on.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, there was this may swing us to, we can come back, you can direct me back, but it makes me think about, there's this huge push for some years about every law enforcement officer doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right?
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that. What I think, and again, this is my opinion, and who am I? But what I think is that law enforcement officers should continue to try to be in shape and then practice their defensive tactics. Because when you're talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai or boxing or MMA, whatever you want to say, it's a sport. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think any type of training like that gets you mentally prepared, right? You know what it's like to be hit. You know what it's like to roll around with somebody. That's cool, but those are sports.
Yeah.
In the field or on the street or in the bar or with your family, it's no sport, man. There's no arm bars and triangles and crap like that. I mean, there are, but you're not going to lay on the ground with a person when his friends or his family are around and they can stomp your head off, right?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of I mean, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's but it is, like you said, it's good to know those things. But yeah, you're in those scenarios to where it's someone has to be stopped.
And I have to give it to my the owner of Vanguard. He that's one of the defensive tactics companies we use. I love what he said, and anyone can look at Johnny Lee Smith. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's a second degree. I forgot. I don't think it's Henzo. Anyway, they can look that up. That was his big deal, and I agree with him. Being a blue belt or a white belt or whatever, that's great, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, honestly, you want to practice and drill what you're being taught.
Yeah.
And so that's secondhand, because in the field, when it's chaotic, you want to go to what you know. And if what you're going, is a sport thing, it's not necessarily, that's not bad. It accents what you're doing, but there's no ref there. There's no one going, hey man, he's tapping.
Yeah.
There's no, this is life. And when you're talking about a police officer, or those type of situations, you're dealing with, got a full kit, a full rig, you're carrying gear. There's a lot that's going on there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a Fortnite game or a freaking Call of Duty game.
Yeah,
this is not.
It's not like you have full mobility. There's a lot of restrictions too. Yeah.
I remember training one time, and it wasn't formal. It was a, get together type deal with some National Guard 20th guys, and we were doing, weapon retention stuff while doing some defensive tactics centered around certain styles, like Gracie or Machado, that kind of deal. And they were losing their guns. It was because at the time, I don't know about now, they don't really run retention with, their pistols. And I remember the captain going, dude, we just don't think about this. And it's not a slight at anybody. It's just that's the way it is in the environment. And that's a training thing, right? Damn, maybe we should have a little bit of retention. How is it easy to grab a pistol? You know what I'm saying? How is it easy to grab that knife or that brick or that stick? So it's different. It's a whole different deal, right? Yeah. So those, going back to what you asked first, that is one crazy incident I was involved in that, not just sharpens up the defensive tactics part, but tactics in general, and then chaos. I mean, I guess that's the best way to say it, is chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what it is. And unfortunately, again, poor Bossier City, they, thank God they let us use their stuff, but, they saved us, but their stuff got tore up.
Yeah, man.
Right.
I don't know. I think so many people don't understand. They watch like a TV show or whatever, but they don't understand kind of like what scenarios you're implemented in. You know what I mean? And probably don't realize how often you are called out too. It's just not just those situations. Sure. It's other stuff that flies under the radar that may not make the news. And
the truth is, man, it should. Honestly, people should go to work, do their jobs, take care of their kids, without having to worry about any of that. Right? It should be that way. It should be under the radar as much as it can be.
Yeah, it's just interesting because, I mean, look, for the past, up until here recently, I guess this past year hasn't been as horrible, but like when you open your phone, shooting, another shooting, another shooting, right? And it's like every day.
Sure. I mean,
and those are just the ones that are being reported.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like actual reported, not by you guys, but reported by the actual
actual news,
whoever the news or the journalist or whatever it is.
Yeah, a lot of Facebook stuff or a lot of Instagram.
What has that been like? So how's it been? How is it to see the evolution of you doing your job before video and phones and social media versus
I think it's made
now?
Things, in all honesty, as much as there are some that would disagree, I think it's made things better because honestly, when you are, people don't understand you're actually doing us a favor, right? Because when you go to court and all that stuff's subpoenaed and you think you're in the right, but you don't know what you're talking about, and then it's out there for everyone to see. The majority of the time, we focus on the minor, the police officer got caught whooping someone's tail, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. Those are true, but think about the thousands upon thousands of interactions with people that go on every day, and how many police officers are cleared because of that video or someone's phone or people. And I'm glad, because people don't understand that they do the law enforcement a favor by doing that, right? Not only does it keep you accountable, but it also clears you in court, because the moment you start bumping them gums, because what happens is, like from the social media standpoint, you'll have someone filming something and they'll give some kind of reckless statement
they're
or
giving
something
a commentary,
saying, and they have no idea
they're just giving
what's
a commentary
going on,
this whole time.
right?
Oh, this dude's got,
And then at the, when it goes to court and they're using that video, and the prosecution's going, look, here it is right here, and it's like, right, what? I can't believe that I did that. I can't. Well, man, I mean, be careful, because it'll come back on you. I mean, that's just the way it is. So I would say it's not a negative thing. I think it's a positive thing,
And I'm sure it's helped a lot being able to find people and stuff too. Like,
man, I can tell you right now that, you're right. Technology is good and bad.
Yeah.
And if you think that you're going to disappear, everybody's listening. If you think you're going to disappear, you're not. I mean, I guess there's a way to, but man, it's slimmer and slimmer every day. I mean, you're
as
just
long as you
not.
got one of these devices in your pocket.
Yeah, dude, you're just not. There's so many ways now,
Yeah.
And in Europe, man, it's been that way for a while. I mean, you think about, in England, CCTV and those, I mean, that's been around for them for a long time. So, it's just now really coming around for us. It's just hard to be solo. It really, really, really is.
Yeah. Do you have any like new technology that y'all are using that you want to talk about or anything like that's just changed the game a little bit? Or
I think, the more phones update, the more that technology changes, to track those or to, see what's going on with that law changes, because, we have a right, you have a Fourth Amendment right to privacy, and, you have a First and Fourth Amendment right to be an American. And so, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's a big deal, but in that, technology changes that. Does that make sense? So, but it's not also a bad thing either. It's good and bad. If someone that's power hungry takes that too far, it gets really weird. But on the other side, it helps out tracking those bad people. I say bad people, but people, that you need to get off the street or that you don't want to be around, Well, your First and Fourth Amendment rights are very important,
What about like, not so much homicide, because we know it's been an issue, but what about like narcotics and like human trafficking and stuff? Like, what's that looking like? What's the landscape of that here recently?
It's dope's not going away.
Right.
It is what it is.
Well, let's talk about this too. Like the marijuana laws and like, is that even much of an issue anymore at all? Like,
man, I'll be honest with you. It's not. I don't. This is just my opinion. This has nothing to do with law. I would say opinion wise, it's, even though you say, not you per se, but you rhetorical as people.
Yeah.
If you get stricter with marijuana or loose, it doesn't change the fact that people are still people. So whether you rob someone over 13 grams or whether you rob someone over 30 pounds, it's still robbery and it's still narcotics. You'll never get away from you're just not going to get away from the human element of, going spiritual with it, the curse of sin. You're not going to get away from that. You're just not. I've seen it. I've seen people shot and killed over chicken or over minute things, right? People say weed's not a big deal. Well, man, there's been things where guys have been, shot and killed over less than a pound or less than, 15 grams. So that's kind of weird. I think that on the other side of that, I think it's good to be open-minded, but I don't think it changes, the way human depravity is. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because look, you can look at burglary and know that a lot of times, narcotics are connected to burglary. Why? Because you're trying to get the fix, right? It's not just because you like to steal things. It's because, I'm strung out. I'm an addict. I got to do things, So you see that. So again, I believe narcotics is part of the core of what. That's why I'm saying it's not going to go away. It's part of our culture. It's part of what happens. I haven't really necessarily seen a change because of because the law may be a little bit lenient. But even though it's lenient, it doesn't change
There's still
the depravity of man. I hope that answers the question.
No, I mean, it
because
makes
you don't
sense.
really.
It's still,
the way it is, dude.
It's still gonna happen.
You could say okay, all marijuana is legal. That's cool, but you're still going to see people die over that narcotic.
Right.
Does that make sense?
But you're not really dealing with a traffic issue or nothing like that with marijuana anymore. Maybe.
Well, it depends, man. You know what I mean? I mean, there's again, there's different grades of that. There's different things. When you mix something with that, it's no longer just marijuana.
Yeah.
Right. So again, those are. Yes, in a generic form, you could say in a generic form, well, marijuana is not a big deal. But on the other side, from a law standpoint and from the way things happen, it is a big deal. It's weird, man. I'm telling you, it is a weird area.
It's always in the pot somewhere. I
Yeah,
guess.
dude,
Even
it is.
Yeah, if there's other shit going on, there's some of that mixed in somewhere.
It is. And the other thing for law enforcement is it's still a way, it's these things help us solve crimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You may have a narcotic guy that's been involved in 5 homicides, and narcotics may be the only way, right? So, I mean, they're all tools. So, for law enforcement. So, man, I wish I could be more direct. And
No, that's fine. What about the human trafficking issue?
I think again, it's always been an issue.
Yeah.
It's just brought more to light because of technology and more information's out there and things that are going. Human trafficking, that stuff's been around since the beginning of time.
Right.
So, right.
But we've been somewhat of a centralized hub being where we're at with everything going on.
Definitely down south. And us too, no doubt. But definitely down south. And then, again, it goes back to technology, man. I mean, you hear more about it now than you ever heard about it before. So, yeah, I would say that, again, with the same thing as narcotics, I don't see that technically stopping unless there's laws made above, our level to where, hey, we're really going to have to bring that down. I mean, you're just going to have to. And, yeah, it happens, man. I mean, a lot of them are runaways or prostitutes or things like that. But, yeah, it happens. I mean, it does. I mean.
Yeah, I had I had Cassie on.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
man, Cassie's awesome.
I had her on. I'm trying to think of the name of her.
Purchased?
Yes, Purchased. Yes. Sorry, I had a blank there.
No, it's okay.
I had her on, and we talked about that extensively. But I just think that a lot of people don't know. So many people don't realize what's going on. Like they're just saying, "Oh, crime's bad," and someone's shooting somebody. There's a lot more shit going on than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot more going on than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys see it firsthand every day. And what does that do? Like, how do you feel mentally? Like at this state in your life, you're 21 years in.
Yeah.
How long are you going to keep doing this?
Man, I don't know until I wake up one day and go, man, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So,
it is a young man's game, though. But yeah.
And so, do you feel the same, I guess, energy as you did 10 years ago? Are you still like?
I'm still energetic.
Yeah.
I feel like that as time goes on, I still have a lot to learn, but I think the energy changes to wisdom to a degree. Right?
Well,
does that make sense? Things I might have, done more energetically before because of my age, I just don't do now because of my age, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But I don't lose the energy to go to work and stand in the gap. That's why, in all seriousness, that's why I do, what I do, right? So, not much change. I think it's more of an age thing than it is an actual job thing.
Yeah, and then you, like mentally, how do you feel? Like just,
man, for me, everyone has their process. For me, I feel like my family may say something different, but I feel like I'm able to break away from that. Whereas in the past, it was hard to learn that. I think that was a hard thing for me because, I'm already a high-strung person. So learning to do that took some time. But, man, I feel like I can disconnect from that. Not all the time, but I try to make a habit of that.
What helps you with that, I guess, along the way?
Man, honestly, for me is, and, I'll tell anyone this, but I tell anyone that's that asks, that's going to be a police officer or, any first responder, not just police officer, but any first responder or anyone that's going to the military that may see combat or any high stress environment, the emergency room for that matter, right? I think number one, you got to connect with the spiritual side of yourself, because if you don't, it'll eat you alive. You've got to get and connect. You have to connect, and I think God plays a big part in that. The other thing for me, definitely the God road. I think the other thing is definitely having friends outside of your prospective career. So in law enforcement, you're going to have friends.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you're going to have friends, but man, you need to have friends that are outside of that. That's what I love about, one of the things I love about the Simple Church is that, you know, a lot of these guys I grew up with, and they have nothing to do with what I do, right? So they see things way different, not just because they're staff at that church or that they just go to that church. It's that their mindset is different, right? It helps you balance things out. You have to have people outside of, because if not, man, you are going to be unhealthy. I mean, there's no...
Well, it's just kind of like being in an echo chamber of everyone saying the same shit without any outside perspective.
And it's true that in anything you do, it's not just law enforcement, but in anything you do, you tend to... That's what you do every day, so you're going to surround yourself with those people. But in law enforcement, because things tend to sometimes be negative, you're going to surround yourself with those people, and it only makes you worse. You know, or it could make you worse. I can't say everyone's like that, but it could make you worse. Same thing with, you know, an ER nurse or an ER doctor. They'll tell you the same thing if they're being honest. Yeah. It's that trauma. We're not necessarily built for all that. So you got to have that resource outside of your career. And one of those is having good friends outside of that. And I think the third thing definitely is what you do with your body. You know what I mean? Any type of cardiovascular training, anaerobic, aerobic, any of that stuff is great, and it should be ingrained into your life along with your diet. And when I say diet, I don't necessarily mean losing weight. I'm saying what you're putting in your body to fuel yourself. You know, if it's making you crash all the time, it's definitely going to affect you, you know, when you're on that job, when you're out on the street, when you're, you know, not just from a safety standpoint, but definitely mentally. Because everybody knows when you get tired, you start getting weird. So
yeah, for sure.
You know, so for me, those three things: the spiritual part, the friend part, and then also taking care of yourself. You know, for me, I learned this from training from retired guys that were special operators, or you know, they did tier 1 stuff, and that was like the mental part, how breathing plays a part in your mental what am I trying to say? Your the way you think mentally, the way you are mentally, the way you are emotionally. You know, breathing and how to breathe makes a big difference. It really does, man. I know that's has been a big deal in the last, you know, 5 to 10 years and of late, but really those guys have been doing that a long time, and it really does. It's proven scientifically that that controls emotion. Yeah, it really, really, really does. You know, that helps.
That's why, like, if you're having anxiety or anything, you do like a breathing exercise, it'll immediately subside, and just things like that.
It can.
Changes. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Yeah. I mean, that's just, you know, and for me, those things, you know, I can't say I figured it out, but I do know that those things help me a ton. And I suggest to, especially most people going into our career, that's what I suggest to them. Hey, dude, you need to do this. This needs to be what you do. You may not get it now, but you will. It won't take you long.
Talking about like breath work and stuff?
Breath work, right?
What are you doing, like long pauses? Like, what's your routine?
I've learned one of the methods. I know, and I may get this wrong, in bodybuilding, I think they were doing I think it's the triangle method. I may be wrong on that. But I do the box breathing method, which that was developed. It was a long time ago, right? That was developed. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was developed by Mark.
Don't know where my fact checker. Josh, Josh, where you at? Hey, you come check something out real quick.
It was the guy that came up with SealFit. Did SealFit? Okay. It's one. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was one of the developers of that box breathing. Box breathing,
and check out the bodybuilding thing. I think it's he said triangle breathing.
I think that, bodybuilding. I think it's like triangle breathing, something like that, right? Yeah. I think, yeah.
Let's see, is that what it is?
It's probably, that may be wrong.
I just want to see how that works. Yeah. So what's that description?
Can you see it?
No. Pull it up. So let's see.
I definitely can't see that.
I got new lookers on me, bro. You just got to zoom in.
Hey, that's
a
what
little
I'm
bit.
talking about.
Yeah.
Kind of. I don't know why it's.
But anyways, do it the old school way.
There you go.
All right, so it's a relaxation technique that involves a specific pattern of breathing resembling the shape of a triangle. So
Yeah, that's really what it is.
inhale, breathe in slowly and deeply through your nose to a count of 3. Hold your breath for a count of 3, and then exhale. Breathe out slowly and then deeply through your mouth for a count of 3.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, that's triangle breathing. Okay, so that's the stuff I didn't even know what that was called. Those are the breathing exercises I've done is the triangle breathing. So,
from what I
what's
understand,
box breathing?
Bodybuilders and weightlifters have been doing that for a long time.
Okay, so check out box breathing then.
So
What's that
box
method?
breathing is, it's the same thing, but you're breathing out of your nose and not your mouth,
Okay.
right? So you were, again, I'm not a doctor. This is just from learning and researching and learning this from guys that are better at it than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is not a spiritual thing. People equate this to spirituality, but this is not. Yoga, people who are really deep into yoga, especially those that are true instructors, that are really, they've got the breathing deal down, and they're right. So so what I was trying to say was you were designed to breathe through your nose, right? Now, not everyone can do that because you have sinus issues. We live in the South. You get a broken nose. Maybe you were born a certain way. But anyway, you were still designed to breathe through your nose.
Right.
So what this is it's the same, almost the same as triangle, but what you'll do is you breathe in, when you first start out, maybe 3 seconds, but then you go to 6 or 8 seconds. So you breathe in, hold it for 6 or 8 seconds. Then you breathe out through your nose 6 or 8 seconds. And in between those, when you're holding it, it's still the same. So it makes a box. So I breathe in my nose for 6 seconds, hold it.
Okay.
6 seconds. Then I breathe out my nose for 6 seconds,
Okay.
hold it.
Okay.
6 seconds.
Gotcha.
Then
Okay.
so instead of the 3-way, it's 4 ways.
Have you tried both? You like that better or what?
I like that better for what I do. I think that when you're exerting a lot of energy, like maybe, a Spartan run, or maybe
Yeah.
you're doing some heavy CrossFit stuff, I think triangle's faster. But I also found out, and you can check this too, I don't know the coach's name, and it may have been in the 50s, but this Olympic coach would have his track runners run like a mile or 2 miles with water in their mouth so they breathe through their nose. It would give them more longevity.
Yeah.
I don't know who that was. You may have to look that up. But if Olympians do that kind of stuff, right, and then tier 1 operators do that kind of stuff, and it assists in them clearing their head.
I'm trying to see.
Are you trying to see who it was?
Yeah.
It is a technique, though, I guess.
Have to type in the actual question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the coach's name was, and I think it was in the 50s. Maybe it was the 40s and 50s. It was something like that. Their warm-up, that was according to what I read, their warm-up. And this was a long time ago. I've been doing box breathing for years and years.
I'm not getting
I
anything.
can't say that it's...
You might have chat GPT it. Gemini's not coming up at all. We need to...
But he would have his athletes run with water in their mouth.
Yeah, well, when I was doing long distance in high school, when I started doing cross country, that was it. It was a key to getting your heart rate down.
Yeah.
Was just doing only nose breathing.
Yeah, there's
You're
nothing,
running.
and there's nothing.
But when you get
wrong
tired,
with the mouth breathing.
Yeah, when you get tired, that
when
mouth
you breathe
opens
through your
up.
nose and then push it through your mouth.
Yeah,
I can tell you, just
That's
mouth
how-
breathing
that's-
doesn't help you.
right.
Right.
Your mouth breathing's horrible.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
horrible. But we tend to do it, especially if you have allergies and stuff, and don't realize it until we're in it. I think there's 1,000 ways, but for me, one way to test yourself is, especially like if you do combat sports, or like, if you're doing BJJ, when you're stuck somewhere, especially with someone that's crushing you, box breathing works, dude. It just does. It has for me, not just in that, but maybe other people could relate to that if they're into the BJJ thing. It helps you calm down. It doesn't get you out of your problem, but it helps you calm down.
I mean,
you know
I would
what
have to. I would do similar technique, more triangle. I think always, even when we were fighting, like I would get my I would get my heart rate too high in training.
Yeah.
And I would use it to get my heart rate, like if we're doing bag work.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I have to spar right after or in between rounds on sparring, getting that breath right.
Right.
That way your heart rate drops down to under 120, so
That's
you're
right.
not, so you can actually
It's
think.
tough. Yeah, dude. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then there's another technique that's like almost like creates a psychedelic. Like is it in your mouth? Can you check that? It's like, I think all mouth breathing. If you do, there's some kind of technique they say that can create like
And
some
you
kind
hold
of,
your breath?
Yeah.
I don't know that
Yeah,
one.
I think it's all with your mouth. This would come on. I don't know. You have to look that up. It's a mouth breathing that creates like some type of, makes you almost high or something. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I haven't tried it yet. But I heard someone talking about it, and psychedelic trip-like experience for short duration. Yeah,
Oh, I got you. That's funny right there. I haven't done that.
yeah.
But I've
Might have to try
definitely been
that out.
tired before.
Might have to try that.
Yeah. I've definitely been tired before, and I definitely know that the box breathing is always, it's helped me along with visualization. I think, we athletes do it all the time, and I think that's key in calming yourself down. I don't mean calming yourself down from a career standpoint. I mean, settling down wherever you're at, to just get refocused.
Yeah,
And that's been, that's nothing new. I mean, that's been around, thousands of years. I mean, you can go back to the Bible where it says, "Be still and know that I am God." You know what I mean?
yeah,
In Psalms. So, I mean, I think, that's one of those things, to be quiet and visualize what's going on. And, I mean, the good things.
slow down enough to kind of take it all in and
Dude.
process it.
And
yeah.
so, to me, those things make you healthy in that environment. And again, healthy is what's the word I'm looking for? Healthy is relative to where you're at. And when I was at the academy at the police department, I would teach that. So, a lot of people think healthy or in shape means that you're, on men's fitness,
Yeah.
right? But that's not true. And the truth is that healthy is what's conducive to your age and what you can and cannot do, based on statistics for where you fall in that age bracket, right? Some people are naturally going to be naturally obese, right? Sometimes you're just not going to get away from that, but you can still be healthy
Yeah.
and still have body fat.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that
Look
you're
at some-
fat and can't move. I'm saying that some people are not going to have a six pack. You're just
Right.
not going to do
look
it.
at
right?
Fedor. Look at
Yeah,
Cain
dude.
Velasquez.
Yeah,
look
dude.
at Tyson Fury.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that's
just that way,
Yeah.
right? So it's going to be, as long as you're putting in the hustle, right? It doesn't mean you can just be fat or you can just be overweight or you can just be, out of shape, whatever that is conducive to you. But it means, man, you're in the grind,
Yeah,
right? You're doing what you need to do to keep yourself healthy on a daily basis. And then also, how does it relate to your career? And I'm talking about in law enforcement now, or first responders, right?
yeah,
And I would even say, military guys that are, going to go to combat or things like that. Man, you got to know what your body can and can't do, how far you can push it. Right?
that is important to know how far you can push it,
Yeah, you do need to know.
because you can
Your body
always
can take a whole
you
lot.
can always push it a little bit further.
Your body can take a whole lot. It really, really,
Because
really
you're going to
can.
break mentally before your body does. I mean, typically, a lot of times, I don't know. I mean, sometimes you're. I guess I've been in situations where my body was telling my brain keep wanting to go, but a lot of people you can always still push it a little bit further.
Sure, and
But
I'm
a lot
not
of people
the
never
David
know
Goggins, but he's right.
Right. Well, a lot of people never know their limits.
Right.
They've never even tested them.
And I see a lot of people now that just won't do that.
Well, it's like me and Dan were talking about. Like, dude, that dude has ran one race longer than some people will walk a lifetime.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
like run in their life. Excuse me, not walk.
Right,
run.
right,
like
right.
They just never run that much ever in their entire life.
Right.
Like your body can do so much. Like when people say, "Oh, I'm sore, I can't move." It's probably because you're not moving.
Right.
It's why you're fucking sore.
Well, think about. I mean, this is one of a
hurting.
bunch,
Yeah.
but I think about it like, David Goggins is the more recent guy, but I mean, think about one of the guys. His name was Roy Benavidez from Vietnam. That dude was shot so many times. Took a bayonet to the gut.
Look that up.
Rescue.
Roy
How you
Bennett.
spell his last name?
Benavidez. I don't, man. You're asking the wrong dude to spell.
Yeah.
It's Roy Benavidez.
I
But
don't
he
know
was
how
a
many.
Green
I
Beret.
don't know how many times he was.
He
how
was,
many times he was shot.
He was a special operations guy, and
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
he was shot. Man, I don't know how many times. He took a bayonet to the gut. He still rescued, a few folks. I think it was 4 or 8, something like that. Got back. They thought he was dead. He wasn't dead. He ended up getting, I think, the Congressional Medal of Honor. That may be wrong.
And this is in Vietnam.
Yeah, it was in Vietnam.
He stepped on a landmine.
Yeah, during a patrol. That was the first time he was there.
Oh,
then
shit.
Then he came
Then he
back.
went back.
Yeah.
6 hours in hell.
Yeah, you've got to listen to the story about that cat, man. I've always been into all those things, but man, that dude pushed himself. I mean, there's many stories like that, but that's one of the stories that I think about because, man, that dude, he was all out. And there's more stories. You could reach back as, in Afghanistan, Iraq, all those things, but
Yeah, so he got stabbed with a bayonet, pulled it out, drew his knife, killed him, kept going, left his knife on the body, later killed 2 more with the AK-47. But how many times was he shot?
I think he had a total of 37 separate bullet and wounds.
There it is.
Shrapnel
Yeah,
wounds,
holy shit. Well, that tells you right there.
Yeah, dude. And not everybody's that lucky, but that just tells you about your body.
Yeah.
Right? And your mind
yeah.
and your mindset.
I like that guy.
Yeah. That makes
The
me
story's incredible,
want to
man.
run through a brick wall right now.
The story.
That's a hard motherfucker right there, y'all. If you can't see that, pull this dude up.
The story is incredible, but there's so many, man. There's just so many.
Yeah.
Right. So, you can use that as encouragement. You don't have to. David Goggins is definitely a beast.
Yeah, he's insane, but some people don't want to run, so they
yeah.
can't relate to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
But everyone can relate to thinking about, no, they can't, but just thinking about that, like this dude was shot
like 37 times.
37 times, stabbed,
And that's what got him.
Yeah.
and diabetes got him because he got home and,
That's right.
Yeah,
he got
complications.
The Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
Medal of Honor, yeah.
probably got home and started eating a bunch of bad processed shit, man. We're trying to fix that stuff too,
Right. Still trying to do it.
Yeah.
That's right, dude. So, yeah, I think that's what, I don't think I know that's what I do for myself, and I encourage other people to do it. I don't think you should think probably past, 3 things and you start getting confused. At least I do, because I'm just a grunt. So those 3 things, the first 3 are, the spiritual side for me, friends outside of
your
my
working
perspective,
sphere,
career, and then also taking care of myself the best I can, training and such. So,
I think it's a good strategy.
yeah, I think that keeps my head clear, and then just always my outlook also.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm trying to combat all my early life bad decisions. Like I'm like, okay, well, what did this create? Is my heart enlarged because I did too much steroids? Is like,
Right.
my so much drinking, so much alcohol, and just doing
Yeah.
stuff and acting stupid, sleep deprivity, like a lot. All that stuff. Like, what has it done to me long term? Let's see if I can mitigate that now.
Right, you
that's kinda
can,
where-
man. I think.
Yeah, I'll try.
I think it's a good thing. I think you can, man. I think
Yeah.
it's one of those things.
But
you
I mean-
live and you learn, man. That's what we all done stupid
Yeah,
stuff.
man. Well, at the time, you don't realize it is because that's just your life,
Right,
And then
it
you,
is.
you get into a new scenario where you can reflect. And you're like, that's not. I was a horrible person. Bad decisions, did bad shit. It's like you got to try to overcome that, or you don't, and it'll swallow you up.
Yeah, we've all been there, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
So yeah, heck,
But yeah, now for me, it's just like get up, cold plunge, do some hard shit first thing when I wake up. Try to work out a couple times a week.
you're way more of a man than me because cold plunge.
Dude, it fucking
kills me.
sucks. It fucking sucks. I was
Cold
telling
plunge kills
my
me.
wife this morning. I was like, I got up. It was cold as shit. The wind was blowing probably like 20 miles an hour this morning. And I was like, the pool was 50. The cold plunge was 45. I jumped in the pool instead. I'm a bitch.
Dude, I don't
feel
even
like a bitch.
70-degree pool.
Dude, I
mean,
feel
you
like
know
a
what I
bitch
mean?
jumping in the pool because it was 5 degrees more. But I was like, I was running a little late this morning. It seemed like, because the cold plunge thing, I'll talk myself out of it for like 10 minutes. Before
I believe
I
you.
finally fucking do it.
I believe
sometimes I'll jump right in, but that's like maybe once a week. The rest of the days, I'm like, fuck. And I'll just come up with the excuses to walk around. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go in here and look at this. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and get my clothes ready. I'm going to go ahead and wake kids up. Like, I'll talk myself out of it for 10, 15 minutes, and I'll finally like, okay, bitch, let's do this, you know? Yeah, dude. But that stuff's been helping, I think. I don't know, maybe mentally, maybe a little bit on recovery and stuff. But, I mean, I think it has. I don't know.
It probably has, dude. I'm telling you. It really does. Those things matter.
Yeah.
And how you're taking care of yourself. And then who you surround yourself with also.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's another thing. I look back and, like, you got to get rid of all those dark circles, man. That's what I used to call them. I was in the middle of a lot of dark circles,
yeah.
You know, for a long time.
And I know for me that does help, man. I don't, I try not to associate with, and when I say associate, I mean just always hanging around people that are always talking trash, because, man, it really does. It tears you down. I don't care how strong you are. In time, no one wants to be around that. And so, really, truthfully, what you fill your mind with is how you're going to act.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of, I think.
Yeah,
we both
and that's
live
why
that.
the whole friends thing outside of.
Yeah, I think we live that. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Like, especially like in the fight world, like, and all that shit. You know, just everyone's like constantly talking shit about someone else.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times with reason, because they're ready to fight them or something.
Well, deal, man, that's part of the sport.
Yeah.
You know, but I understand what you're saying, because you gotta, you know, I mean, you're not. I mean, how many people are really pros doing that all the time, and that's just part of. They're not. I mean, you know what I mean. So mentally, if you're always around the bull crap, that's what you're going to produce.
Of course,
you're just going to, man.
Yeah,
it's the way we are. It's the way we're made.
We're creature of habit in our environment. You know. And
that's, you know,
if you don't change your environment, you can't change you. You know?
One thing that's helped me a lot is, you know, not that I don't have this mastered, but the ego is your nemesis. And if you can combat that every day, and for me, man, I really do try to be around people who I think are better than I am, honestly. And it honestly makes me better.
Yeah, I've worked on that a lot, dude. I used to get, oh man, I'd make bad decisions. I'd want to go knock somebody out just for the dumbest, you know, whatever, just like for no reason. Like, what? I mean, I had a reason. I was justified in my brain, but that's stupid. It wasn't a reason. Right. And the older we got, the worse. We're family. You know how our family was growing up, man. So like that was like something hovering over you. Well, I got to live up to this too, you know. And then if this person talks shit, well, they get hit. Well, now it's like, dude, you can't pay me to hit somebody.
No, dude.
I mean, it's got to be a very bad scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't give a shit who says anything. You can whoop my ass. You can say, oh, that's fine. Go ahead. I'm not going to jail tonight. I'm going to wake up in my bed tomorrow. My family's safe. We're happy. I don't give a shit about any of the other stuff. Like,
yeah, I think
just for like a good hit of dopamine, you feel like you're a badass. Like that shit doesn't. I think I've finally passed all that up in my life. You know?
Yeah, yeah. That's great.
Yeah, but that's shit. That's the life though. It's what was surrounded with for so long.
Yeah,
you know, and I just thought that's what I was supposed to be. I guess. I mean,
people do influence you no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think the more you can put around yourself, I'm not going to say positive, because that's just kind of like a generic word. I mean, people who push you to be better than who you are, that's a great thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, I think it's a good deal, you know. I love being around Dan. I mean, we don't get to be around
awesome.
much.
Yeah,
but,
Dan's awesome.
Dude, he always pushes me to be better, dude. Got a great perspective. You know, I'll call him and I'll throw things off of him. Well, man, look at it like this. Oh, yeah. You know, I have a lot of, but I'm fortunate to have a few buddies that are just like that, you know, aren't associated with anything that I do, that go, hey, man, think about it like this, or hey, you know, let's go do this, or, you know.
Well, you gonna do anything hard? You got anything coming up? You gonna do competitions? Are you gonna do some jiu-jitsu matches? What are you doing?
Man, hopefully I'll compete in the next few months, BJJ wise. I want to. Dan and I just talked about doing another beast. We did a beast a couple years ago, and then we did the what's the 27-mile one? What's that? I forgot.
He said y'all did one, and you were like, "Fuck you."
We were like, man, I was like, holy cow, dude, it was crazy. It was like 28 miles, whatever. What is that called? I forgot. Anyway, I told him I didn't want to do that. He keeps trying to get me to do a half marathon, a marathon, and I just can't.
Half marathon. I did a half. Me and my wife did it. Dan was there, but she was just trotting the whole time.
And I know
talking
the
shit.
Beast is that way, but it's for me the Spartan run's a little bit different because you're not just running.
Oh, I'm just talking about a regular marathon.
Yeah, I
but you're
can't do
talking
no
about
marathon
They
or
suck.
regular- yeah,
It's
I don't- I
boring.
can't do
It's
that.
boring and it's horrible. But
I did enough
mentally,
running in my
it's
career.
cool. You know.
Yeah.
But I think we were talking about doing. We need to get together and do a Spartan. I think it's in October. That'd
Was
be
that
cool.
in Dallas or
Yeah, somewhere in Houston or something.
Yeah,
I think it's
I would do a Beast again. Now I think it's half a marathon, but you're doing other stuff. You know, you're doing the Atlas carry, the kettlebell carry.
Right.
You're doing obstacles. You're doing all this. I love that. You know, it's not just the running, and you're in the country in hills, and you know.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I think
I do want to do that. I will compete, but that's, as far as like personally, those two things are what I have time for at present.
Yeah.
Because I'm already, I'm already training. I'm already pushing myself. I'm already,
Yeah. That's
So,
what's up. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I know you kept training the whole time, even when you weren't fighting or anything.
Yeah,
Stayed-
definitely. Yeah.
I talked to you
Always
like,
tried to, yeah.
I'm getting bag work in or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people don't, bro. They just go
That's
sit on the
right.
couch, man.
Yeah, dude. I
They
can't
have their,
do
they
that,
have their
man.
golden ages, and they're like, oh, I'll talk about it, and they just go sit on the couch.
Yeah, I can't
And
do
they
that.
want to tell someone how to throw a punch. I'm like, dude, don't talk to me about anything, bro. Sit your ass there and just watch UFC,
Yeah, I can't do I have to be moving.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to take care of myself. It's in my DNA, I'm not 100% all the time, but I really do. It is an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. My family will tell you that too. It's just, that's the way it is.
That's what's up, dude.
And the cool thing is, man, is that my kids are in it. That's a cool deal, so, I'm happy about that because they've learned and are learning that, hey man, you got to take care of yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mentally and physically.
Yeah, I get on mine all the time. I'm like, look, this is what it's going to do if you keep putting that in your body. I'm going to sometimes I don't let you, sometimes I let you make this decision, but if you continue to eat that way, it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, quicker than if you don't. So think about that when you pick up that whatever the hell it is. You know what I mean? I'm just straight up with them.
Yeah.
Dude?
It's good to be straight up with them.
Yeah, for sure.
My kids, man, they, I teach them about the spirituality part too, man, and they soak all that stuff up with a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm proud of them, dude. They, you've got to take care of yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
It's got to be part of your DNA, who you are.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah. Yeah, we want to do that. So.
Well, dude, anything else? You got any shout outs or anything before we wrap this thing up?
Shout outs. Man, I don't know off the top of my head. Man, y'all come see us at the Civil Church sometime. It's not like it's not like normal church. We get criticized a bunch, but it's cool because
That's a good time over there.
yeah, man. I mean, it's made for people who are not only tired of the same old, but who are critical about how religion is, right? And I think it's a great place to meet good people, and it's a great place where they honestly, these guys, they truly serve people.
Yeah, Hagel's awesome, man. He was on here. We had a lot of talks. I love that guy.
Yeah, Justin's a great dude, man. His staff's great. They're great people, honestly. And, they're not perfect. So when I say this, I genuinely mean it. And I don't want it to be misconstrued to anyone that's listening, but they do what they say.
Yeah.
And it's cool. That's a cool deal. It's a cool trait to have too, So yeah, that's my shout out. They've done me right. They've always been there for me and my family. And man, I mean, it's the hippest place around.
And they get to hear you play guitar too.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I have a great time. It's a fun deal. Yeah, I love doing that.
Awesome, bro. Well, that's a wrap. Thanks.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for letting me